Who doesn't love a good video game Easter egg from time to time, right? After slogging your way through endless dungeons or exploring vast open worlds, isn't it nice to stumble across a secret or reference to the wider video game industry, or something to lighten the mood, or even just offer a little pat on the back for an area well explored? Well, sometimes you might regret looking under every pixelated pebble, as the devs, or just one dev in particular maybe, might have taken it upon themselves to place a little nugget that is less shiny and more absolutely stinky. Insults, complaints about co-workers, or rants about their bosses, all of these examples prove, above all else, that while the end result of a video game is meant to be entertainment, the process behind the curtains are anything but. So let's have a look at them, shall we? As I'm Jules, this is WhatCulture.com, and these are 8 video game Easter eggs made out of spite. Number 8. Read between the lines. Cannon fodder. When you look at the titles under Sensible Software's belt, you might actually start to realise, shock horror, that they don't actually make titles as sensible as their name would suggest. Far from it, in fact, as the likes of Sensible Soccer and Cannon Fodder ended up being the most ridiculous of spectacles for all the right reasons. Cannon Fodder especially took the world by storm, thanks to its rather worryingly cute approach to war, which would see players escort a group of commandos through levels jam-packed with explosives and enemies with the sole goal of try not to get everyone killed. And it seemed like this tongue-in-cheek approach to dark comedy infiltrated every aspect of the development process, as the team hit a number of rather rude and taunting messages to both the player and their publisher Virgin Interactive. The latter was mocked by having text written all over their logo advertising free sex, which you could only find if you took the Splash logo and inverted the colours and contrast, and the former coming in the form of the player being utterly ridiculed by the game's end screen. Take a look at it. Can you see it? No? Well, why don't you just read the first letters of far out, unreal, crazy dude, cool babe, yippee, and outrageous, and and you'll see that it spells well, yeah. Number 7. Secret level meltdown. Gex. Now, while a lot of other examples on this list are of developers expressing their frustration at the player or their bosses, very few of them actually led to anything more than maybe content for vultures like ourselves to pick clean in such lists. However, in the case of Justin Knorr, it cost him his job. To better explain, we need to look at the rather tumultuous development that Gex went through. With the budget running low, staff shortages, and looming deadlines, it seemed the team was always under the hammer 24/7. The game received substantial cuts, and entire sections such as a sci-fi theme were dropped entirely despite assets for them already existing. Therefore, unbeknownst to much of the team, a secret team was formed which used the cut assets to make secret levels and areas that the player could access through cheat codes and hints. So far it sounds pretty acceptable, right? Well, apparently one day Knorr came in to find that one of his levels was edited without his permission and took such personal affront to this that he decided to reinstate the cut level as a secret, but also include a ream of dialogue that told the player that this section was cut because the publisher didn't value the player. He even went one step further, including a phone number for a rep at the company, and told the player to phone them and give them a piece of their mind for cutting such excellent content. Things didn't end well for him, as the secret was soon found during playtesting, and the company fired him for endangering relationships that the company had with Panasonic, for which this game was going to feature heavily on their 3DO console. Number 6. Give me a bonus. PACHICOM. Now, while the Famicom might have come along and quite literally changed the game and saved the entire video game market in the process, it wasn't all gold and glory for the devs working on titles for the system, as anyone who found the "give me a bonus" rant in PACHICOM could tell you. While it's unclear which developer left the message, one thing is for certain, and that's that they were not very happy in the slightest. In this mammoth-sized text file, which took up nearly 5% of the game's entire storage space, the developer rages about their employers and how they've changed things at a moment's notice, and also how they wanted a completely different audio track for the game. They conclude this tirade, which also includes some rather blue-coloured masturbation jokes, with a call for a pay bump before screaming to themselves, and now those lucky enough to have found this message via a hex editor. It's pretty clear that the dev never wanted these messages to be found originally, but hilariously enough, when the MSX version of the game was released, another, albeit shorter message was also included in the game's files. Number 5. Destroying billboards. Mercenaries 2. While this might, on the surface, not appear to be much of an Easter egg, seeing as the game literally instructs you to do so, much like the Onion and a very specific ogre, this entry has layers, all of which spoke of real-life tears behind the scenes. Did I just make a Shrek joke in 2022? Apparently so. Good times. You see, for some greasy reason or another, Pandemic Studios were tasked by EA to include billboards within the otherwise outstanding sequel that were used to promote real-world items, thus turning this carnival of carnage and chaos into the Wheel of Capitalism. As you can imagine, this move likely left a lot of devs feeling hard done by, that their game was now being seen as little more than a glorified advert in the eyes of their publisher, and so went about making things right the only way they knew how, by letting you destroy each and every one of these billboards and rewarding you for doing so. As part of the Digital Man Trophy, players were challenged to, alongside unlocking every secret component and all shop items, the complete and utter destruction of the 40 in-game billboards. Thanks to them adding in this requirement alongside so many other pieces, it was impossible for EA to notice the dig, but a dig it was nonetheless. Number 4. TIMMY VERMICELLI, Driver 3. It wasn't exactly a secret that Atari had quite a lot of contempt for the likes of Grand Theft Auto, who in their eyes were the ones to beat when it came to pumping out their sequel to the beloved Driver series of games. Yet while much more attention should have been spent on, making sure the game bloody worked, the devs decided to knuckle down and make their intentions known by routinely mocking the current crown holder GTA however they could. The most blatant and altogether petty dig came in the form of TIMMY VERMICELLI, a parody of Tommy Vercetti from GTA Vice City so thinly veiled you think it was made of pure ghost. Here, Timmy was a hidden pedestrian that could be found in all 3 cities, and would reward the player with special perks if he could be cleared out of said areas. Subtle it was not. Get rewarded for killing GTA, and because perks such as not damaging your own vehicle when crashing into others were so good, it was clear that the devs wanted you to seek out this large-handed loser. As a final jab, Timmy is shown to be wearing inflatable water wings, a reference to the fact that Tommy can't swim in the GTA games. It's a shame then that it was GTA that was the one left floating after the tidal wave of disaster that was Driver 3 launched and promptly sank. Number 3. What is the square root of a fish? SKULLGIRLS ENCORE. Now, this Easter egg falls into a rather strange place on the old spite-o-meter, as on the one hand, this secret was included only on cracked versions of the almighty SKULLGIRLS video game, meaning that you'd have to be pretty spiteful to the devs' Lab Zero games in order to find it. However, it also turned out that this Easter egg of sorts was actually put there by the devs themselves as an anti-piracy measure to stick one to those looking to play for free. Just a few days after the game was released, Lab Zero were flooded with strange images and questions based around a text message that popped up after beating the game. The message read, "What is the square root of a fish? Now I'm sad," and seemed to have no answer that could be found within the game itself, and players, as one would expect, wanted to know more. But the answer was a bit of a shock when Lab Zero responded on Twitter stating, it means you should probably buy the game instead of pirating it, leading to much ridicule of the players in question. A fair play to Lab Zero for dealing with it in a relaxed manner, but the real meaning and the ire that must have been felt by the devs is no joke at all. Number 2. Ha 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 room. Dirty Harry. Do I feel lucky? Well, do ya? Punk. We all know these famous words spit out with the utmost spite by rock-jawed Clint Eastwood in the all-timer of a film Dirty Harry, but it seems that this oft-quoted cinematic milestone takes on a totally different meaning when it came to the Dirty Harry video game that came out for the NES, or NES. For here, it seems that your luck has truly run out should you end up in the now infamous ha 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 Easter egg room, which one can accidentally stumble into while exploring one of the many, many apartment blocks in the game. In this room, the door to leave has been replaced with a bare wall with ha 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 written on it, meaning that escape is quite literally impossible and will force anyone looking to leave this prison to reset the game entirely. It's one thing to include a joke room or secret that pokes fun at the player, but to bar all progress entirely and force a complete restart is a pretty vicious move no matter how you cut it. Thankfully, the room only appears near the start of the game, but still, absolute boo all over this. And number 1, created by ROBINETT, Adventure. So, how could an Easter egg comprising solely of the words created by ROBINETT ever be construed as a secret made out of spite? Well, my friend, this is an example of a developer hitting back at his bosses in a manner they specifically told him not to. You see, at this point in time, publishers Atari were, well, how best to put this, the actual worst. Not only were they spending ludicrous amounts of money like it was going out of style, but precisely zero of these record-setting profits were being given to the developers. In fact, it seemed as if the higher-ups truly wanted to keep the power and control on top of the mountain, as they demanded that no developer ever be credited in their games. As you can imagine, this didn't go down well with some of the devs, especially ROBINETT, who took it upon himself to include an Easter egg in the Atari 2600 title Adventure as a digital middle finger to his employers, declaring that he made the game in question. What makes this even more impressive is that it was also one of the first examples of a video game Easter egg in general, making it a spiteful moment in history done to highlight the injustices of those at the top of the industry at the time. And there we go, my friends. Those were 8 video game Easter eggs made out of spite. I hope that you enjoyed that, and please let me know what you thought about it down in the comments section below. As always, I've been Jules. You can go follow me over on Twitter at RetroJ0, or you can swing by Live and Let's Dice, where I do all of my streaming outside of work, and it'd be great to see you over there, my friends. But before I go, I just want to say one thing. I hope you're treating yourself with love and respect, because you deserve all the best things in life, and do not let anything or anyone else tell you otherwise, alright? You're a massive ledge, and I want you to go out there and utterly smash it today. As always, I've been Jules. You have been awesome. Never forget that, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.